guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new, please make sure you subscribe, like and comment. As you can probably tell from the title and what Venu is wearing today, we're going to be talking about Kumar Sangakkara. So Venu, do you want to give us a little bit of a show?
Oh yeah, sure. One second.
The PG version, of course.
Oh, what are you implying for Zan?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Venu's got his Sangakkara customizer.
So funny story, you got the shirt for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the joke was that, as you can see, it was the 2019 World Cup, and the joke was if Sangakkara was playing, Sri Lanka would have won it. So I'm still sticking by that, to be honest. If he doesn't watch this, Sanga, why didn't you play in the 2019 World Cup?
Yeah,
let us down. You let us down.
I know. What can you say? What can you say? Right. I remember getting it for you and thinking, you know what? You were so upset about Sri Lanka not having a particularly strong team, and I was like, "Oh, put his hopes up a little bit." You know, Sangakkara on the back. So, no, it's
although
good.
In that tournament, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, I think were they the only two teams that beat the world champions in England?
Yeah.
There must have been another team. I think there was another team, but that just shows. I think there was another team. Australia beat them the first time round. Yeah. Yeah. Did you mention it's Sanga's birthday today?
No. So that's why we're talking. Sangakkara's birthday. Yeah, exactly.
He's
You're
43 today, isn't he?
Yeah, 43 today. So we thought it would be a really good opportunity to talk about Venu's favourite player. So you guys are in for a treat. Venu's favourite player ever, Sangakkara. 43 today, and yeah, I mean, Venu, do you want to talk a little bit about him first? About his achievements? I've got some stuff that I want to discuss as well, but off the top of your head, what?
I just don't know what to say about him. He's just that good.
Actually, you know what? Maybe a good place to start is so we've seen him live.
Yeah, we have.
So what did you think when you saw him live?
So we were fortunate enough to see him when he was playing for Surrey in 2017, and I think 2018 as well.
Yeah.
We were very lucky to see him, and we were very fortunate to see him smash 100 playing fantastic cricket shots. And it was just, what surprised me the most was how well he timed the ball, and how he just manipulates the field, how he runs between the wicket. He's just such a clever and smart batsman. And any young players out there that want to know how to play proper cricket, he's the player to watch.
No, I agree.
And I don't know what you thought, Fizan, when you watched him live at the Oval.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, his timing is just exquisite, and I think one thing that especially towards the end of his international career, and also after he retired, that he wasn't a player who got stuck in his ways. As the game progressed, he progressed with it. So in that, it was actually a 40-over game, and he played a couple of dill scoops, and he played a couple of reverse sweeps, etc. And he obviously isn't known, I don't think, for being the most innovative player, but the fact of the matter is that as the game progressed, so did he. And I think we're going to go through his stats, mainly kind of test stats, but I think just his all-round game as a player, especially as a left-hander batting at 3, it's unparalleled, to be honest with you. I mean, people might talk about Brian Lara, but Brian Lara predominantly batted at 4, so there's not really that comparison to make anyway. So, but I think at 3 as a left-hander, I think it's very hard to say he isn't the best left-hander at 3 ever, to be honest with you.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on. And
also, at the start of his career, he did wicketkeep as well.
Exactly, yeah.
As well, so that's something to add.
100%, yeah. So wicketkeeper at the start of his career, and so really fun fact here is among batsmen with at least 8,000 Test runs, only Gary Sobers has a better average as a specialist batsman. So Kumar Sangakkara averaged 66.78. So that's when he's not keeping. Yeah. So as a specialist batsman, 66.78, and Gary Sobers is the only one who had a higher average. Obviously, Don Bradman had an average of 99, but he didn't score 8,000 Test runs or more. So that obviously is not part of it. And, which you'll love this because you love a double century, Venu, tally of 11 double centuries, only 1 short of Don Bradman, which is just incredible. I just think, yeah, I mean, especially in the Test arena, he was, a colossal player. I mean, equal fastest man to 10,000 test runs as well, alongside Tendulkar and Lara, who I think a lot of people put those two obviously up there on a pedestal. But the fastest 8,000, 9,000, 11,000, and 12,000 runs, test runs we're talking about here. So just, yeah, mind-blowing stats, obviously. Ended up with an average of 57. But, obviously, the fact of the matter is that I don't know whether he would have had an even higher average if he had kind of relinquished the gloves at the start. However, I think maybe something you know a little bit about, because obviously you would have watched maybe more Sri Lanka international games than me, is he had quite a good humour behind the stumps in terms of sledging. So even though maybe batting-wise he wasn't as good with the gloves, I think he still gave an extra element behind the wickets. And I saw a nice clip today where Sean Pollock came in against him in the World Cup. So once a white ball game, and he was going. And to be fair, this is what I mean. I think this is what's missing from cricket now, is that a lot of people, they have to go really personal, or like, to a degree of almost being insulting. But he was just saying, "Come on, chappies, let the captain's in. He's got the whole country's hopes resting on him." And he was saying, there's 100,000 people at least watching this game, and he has to come and do something. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do, and you can just see Sean Pollock's like, "Oh crap," and he's just constantly chatting to him on the stumps, and it's really interesting. But yeah, so Venu, what do you think? Kind of the stats that I've just kind of talked to you about. I mean, are you surprised by those, or were you aware of those?
I was aware of those stats, but what surprised me the most was, the improvement when he didn't wicket keep. So from a 66.78 average for not keeping is amazing, but I think 11 double centuries also is an amazing achievement. He does, once he's in, he bats big, doesn't he? He's one of those types of players. But those stats weren't surprising. He's just such a quality player, and it's just not my. I think we were very lucky to be able to see him play at Surrey. I think I might have seen him play for Sri Lanka when they toured England back in 2011. But we were very lucky to see one of the best players in our lifetime, to be honest.
No, agreed. And to kind of go a little bit away from the kind of stats, for you as someone who's a British Asian and obviously British Sri Lankan growing up, how much of a, maybe not an inspiration, but how much of a kind of, was he a role model to you? Was he an inspiration, to be fair? And what kind of impact did he have on you growing up as someone who's obviously a very big cricket fan?
I think he was probably one of my biggest role models growing up. I think I said in the previous video, him and Freddie Flintoff were probably the two players that I really looked up to. Just Freddie, just the way he played the game, just really, really inspired me. And I think both of them played the game in the right spirit. I know the spirit of cricket is always mentioned, but what Flintoff, the way they both played hard on the field, but off the field they seem to conduct themselves in the right way, especially to their opponents. Flintoff had a few few moments, few wobbles, but the way he treated other players, I think, was excellent. And same with Sangakkara as well. The thing about Sangakkara that really inspired me was the way he spoke as well, the way he articulated himself, the way he spoke to the media, spoke to his players. He was just
extremely
a great person
eloquent,
to follow. Yeah, he's
very
he's
eloquent.
got a law degree. He's got a law degree, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a law degree. So
probably explains why. Sorry, what are you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying that. But as you said, I'm assuming you're going to say that's probably why he's so good at articulating, himself in interviews, etc. And I think as someone who obviously didn't necessarily support Sri Lanka, but growing up, for me personally, I think the way he conducted himself, as you said, not just in cricket, but outside of cricket, and when he was, talking to the media, I think even when he was playing for Surrey, giving himself as well to people was very, I think, generous in terms of giving his time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stands out to me is actually that he's now the president of the MCC, which I think shows what kind of love he has for the game, and also that people trust him as well in terms of having cricket's best interests at heart, basically. And one of the things that touched me a little bit is when him and the MCC went to visit Pakistan recently.
Yeah.
And he obviously pioneered that, and especially as obviously he was part of that team where the whole incident happened in Pakistan, which initiated the ban in Pakistan for cricket internationally. So the fact that he went there, I think, shows what type of person, character he is. So I can really see why he'd be such a big role model to you. And I think even for me, watching him play and his demeanor, etc., you can only admire someone like that. I think is very difficult. I can't think of a single negative thought in my mind towards Kumar Sangakkara at all, because if you played well against your team, you just would put your hands up and say, well played. He was a very, very good player to watch, very elegant player to watch. And I think a very good point in an article that I read recently, which was talking about previous left-handers before that, like Ragatunga and players like that for Sri Lanka who were left-handers, they were more battle-hardened and, they'd grit out scores. But Kumar Sangakkara was a mix of that, but also an elegance that hasn't really been seen by a Sri Lankan player. So, yeah, I think it's just incredible, I think. And some of the stats, obviously, that we talked about, and there's so many more, I think really elevates him and shows how good a player he is. Which kind of leads me on to, so obviously I know he's your favourite player, but to kind of look at it objectively, I mean, I'm assuming you agree with the fact that he's probably the best left-handed number three. Do you think he's the best number three ever?
Good question. I think you could argue Ricky Ponting was the very good number three.
Yeah,
an excellent player, good. Excellent captain. He has an unbelievable record, 2 World Cup wins. Captained that that amazing Test team and ODI team during the 2000s. But in terms of left-hander, I can't think of anyone, a left-handed batsman. Obviously, Lara was at number 4.
Yeah.
But number 3 and also wicket-keeping as well. And are we just looking at his test cricket, or are we looking at overall cricket? What are you thinking, Fazan?
I think, so in ODIs he averaged 41, didn't he? And T20s he averaged, I think it was 20, so it was 30, wasn't it? 30,
I think so. But this is what amazed me. For all his international cricket, T20s, ODIs, and Tests put together, he scored just over 28,000 runs, 63 centuries, 609 catches, 139 stumpings. Impressive player. And I think you made an excellent point earlier on this video that he was a player that adapted his game to how cricket changed. And I think like another left-handed player who's quality, like Alistair Cook. Could you say he adapted his play, his style of play? I think he was very. He had his shots. He knew what he had. What shots he could play. He knew the weaknesses. And I think Sangakkara, the reason why I say he's a better player than Cook was because he was able to adapt his style and able to improve his game. And not taking any away from Alistair Cook, I just think Sangakkara, the fact that he can play spin, one of the best players of spin. Yeah, he can.
He's a 360 cricketer, right? He's what you would call now in modern day cricket 360 cricketer because he played all formats. He also was one of the people who started playing franchise cricket as well in general. But the fact is that he played Tests, ODIs, and T20s. In T20s, he had an average, I just checked, of 31. And someone like Alistair Cook, he developed his game enough in Test cricket where he adapted his game so he'd do well in the Test arena. But The only thing I'd say against someone like Alistair Cook is that he didn't play ODIs. Well, he did, but then obviously he got dropped because they didn't think he was the type of player who could play that shorter format. Similarly in T20s as well. And I think I always feel like the best of the best, the players that can play all three formats, especially nowadays, in the last 10 years, are the players that have performed well in all three formats. And just to kind of go on the test averages at number 3 and kind of look at that, because we were saying about, you said as a left-hander at number 3, definitely the best. You said about Ricky Ponting, he's up there. So I want to kind of just shoot some stats at you and get your opinion on it. So I've got here the highest test averages at number 3. So this is obviously just test, minimum of 4,000 runs. So and number 1 is Don Bradman, which is probably no surprise. 56 innings, 5,000 runs, 103 average, 100 to 20, sorry, 10 50s. But then you got Kumar Sangakkara, who's second, 207 innings, 11,700 runs, average of 61, hundreds of 37 and 50 50s, which is pretty impressive. 50 50s just seems hilarious to me. It's just so incredible stat. And obviously you've got Hashim Amla just behind, the average of 57, and Ricky Ponting just below that, 56, with equally very good, incredible stats. I mean, to boot. But obviously, I think there you can see, Bradman, Sangakkara, Hashim Amla, Ricky Ponting. These are the type of people we're talking about, the very best of the best, the cream of the crop. And I think if we kind of exclude if we talk about more modern day cricket and kind of exclude someone like Don Bradman, I think there is 100% a case to say Sangakkara is the best number 3 ever in the test arena, because he was just that good. And I think these stats here, as I've said before, are not always everything, but I think when you have so many stats pointing towards one direction, it's very hard to suddenly say, let's just ignore it, because that's just how he was that good, I think. And I think we need to put a bit more respect on his name as someone who actually, I think Ricky Ponting gets a lot of praise, and rightly so, but I think it's also because there's that Ashes connection with England, that obviously that they saw a lot more of him. But someone like Sangakkara, Hashim Amla as well, to be fair, and Ricky Ponting, I think I would say those guys are just incredibly talented. And at number 3, you got to say they were the best of the best. And for me, Sangakkara, I would say happily, personally, Sangakkara is my top number 3 in tests.
If you want to see why he's one of the best, you've got to watch the highlights of his 192 against Australia.
Yeah.
In the 2007-2008 series in Australia, where he batted so well. You've got to see that video. It's incredible at Hobart, and it was a very good Australian attack. And I think he was batting with the number 11, and I think he went to pull one and it hit his shoulder, and he was given out, and such a bad decision to end that amazing innings. But if you want to see how good he is, watch that innings. That's probably my favourite Sangakkara innings. And to add to that, in terms of, we're still talking about tests, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Okay, I won't mention it.
No, go for it. We're done on test.
In terms of T20s, he finally won some silverware for Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It was, growing up wasn't good, because he had the 2007 final, the 2011 final, where I think he hit 100 in that final, and India won it, thanks to
he hit 50 in the 50 in the first final against Australia.
And I think he hit
100.
against India, and India, I think that's when they won it. And he hit 52 not out in his last T20 international, which was the final of the 2014 World Cup. And finally, Sri Lanka got some silverware, and that really showed his class. And I remember that innings, the pressure was on him. He just gritted it out, and he managed to get Sri Lanka over the line. And
he captained. He was captain as well, wasn't he?
I believe so. Yes.
Incredible captain as well. To be fair, I would say when he was captain.
Like was he captain? Let me check.
Also, the one thing I have to say is that you're so right that I think it's worth mentioning that Sri Lanka team was incredible. at that time, the J.O. Wardner, Sangakkara, Malinga, Angelo Matthews when he was young then as well, Joe Surya, Dilshan. I mean, these players just quality, and they were so unlucky in the World Cups against Australia because in 2003 and 2007, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, 2007 and 11. 2007 was Australia final with Gilchrist.
Against India.
Best innings.
Yeah.
And India 2011.
Yeah. So, sorry, 2007 and 2011, back-to-back finals in the World Cup. And, they must have been devastated. I mean, 2 World Cup finals and both times, And I think they just, unfortunately at the time, there was just one team that was better than them at that time. And they hit Australia when they were at their peak. They hit India when they were at their peak in both tournaments. And it was unfortunate. But it's good that they managed to get something in that T20.
I know. But yeah, I was good. But the annoying thing about 2011 and 2007, Sri Lanka had a hold on a match in both instances. That was the frustrating bit. But fair enough, fair play to get to the final of those things. I think that's probably the only thing that's missing from Sangakkara's.
Is a World Cup.
Is that 50 over World Cup win. I think that would have really put icing on the cake for him. Like Ricky Ponting's got those accolades, hasn't he? So,
but I think he was he was part of a better team. To be fair, I think you have to say. And sometimes that's just the way it is. You're part of a better team. I agree.
But also to add to that, do you remember the 2015 World Cup? He hit 4 consecutive ODI centuries.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And I think he must have been the leading run scorer in 2015. No, it's Martin Guptill.
Yeah, Martin Guptill scored a lot
by 6 runs. He got 547.
He played a lot more matches though.
He played 9 matches, whereas Sangakkara was 541 from 7 innings, an average of 108.2. It was to 7 innings and 400s. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, incredible.
I still remember that. Yeah, that was a good World Cup actually, but incredible player.
Yeah. Before we wrap up on Sangakkara, is there anything else you want to add?
I was wondering, do you think he retired too early?
That's really interesting, actually. I think, when we watched him for Surrey, we thought, why is he retired? Because he could have done such a great job. He was playing so well. He just looked so easy for him playing for Surrey. It's difficult, though. I think, obviously, I think he said he kind of maybe didn't fall out of love with the game, but maybe he was tired of the international jet setting everywhere, it's different tours, etc. And I think, obviously, he just wanted to have a bit of normality in his life. And it's difficult because when you see a player perform that well, you do think to yourself, oh, why have they retired? But you got to think to yourself, I guess, would you rather he carried on like someone like Tendulkar did, and then Tendulkar basically he retired when he was really a shadow of himself in the end, or do you do what Sangakkara did, you retire when you're at the top of your game or near-ish the top of your game, where you feel like you've exhausted the best of your form and you can kind of feel the dip coming a little bit, and you think maybe I should stop now because I've done the best I can. And I think that's maybe what he thought. Also, I think maybe if Sri Lanka had a stronger side to potentially challenge for that 2019 World Cup, who knows, maybe he could have stayed just to play that. But I think the issue is that would have been another 4 years to wait. He would have been 4 years older, and that cycle had just finished of the World Cups. So he'd done everything else. The only thing that was missing was the World Cup 50 over, as you said, 50 over competition, and that wasn't going to happen. So I think it was the right decision, to be honest, in my opinion. What do you think?
I agree, yes. I think probably right to call it a day during 2015 at the end of that World Cup cycle, and also to allow younger players to make a name for themselves in the Sri Lankan setup for all 3 formats. And you are right. I think he did leave on at his probably at his peak, probably the right call. The only thing that does worry me, the only thing about, it's quite sad to see how Sri Lanka cricket is now compared to what it was 7 years ago. It's just quite sad to see players like Sangakkara, J.O. Wardner, and not their legacy hasn't really filtered down to the current Sri Lankan team. hopefully give it another few more years. Hopefully, the old Sri Lanka can come back. But going back to Sangakkara, I think he was probably the right call to call it a day at 2015. And the thing is, he still contributes, to cricket. Bars is not playing. He's the MCC president. He's done a lot for Sri Lanka cricket, a lot of international cricket. So yeah, it's the right call.
Yeah, no, agreed. Okay, well, yeah, that's all for that. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, please stay safe and well, and your